know. It's going to be a lot of creaking. So welcome
No,
to another episode of Questionable Personalities.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And Alex is not here with us tonight because he's traveling. So I'm doing it solo.
Nice.
Crap. And you're here with Emily and Chris.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you're an acting couple.
We are.
Sometimes we act like
Sometimes
it.
you act like a couple, sometimes you don't act like a couple. Depends
on the day.
Yeah.
How we're feeling.
If you did the laundry or not.
If she ate.
Yeah.
That's a
That
big.
can be a
Yeah.
problem.
Yep.
So where should we start? How did you get into acting? So we have two different stories.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure, right?
yeah. Well, why don't you start?
I started acting in in fifth grade. Fifth grade, sixth grade. I did like the school plays in school, and and then I went to college for theater performance, and now I'm out in the real world.
So what drew you to acting?
I guess, I don't know. I watched a lot of TV and I watched a lot of movies, and I thought those people seemed really cool and they seemed like they had a lot of friends, and I thought it'd be nice to be friends with those people. They seem fun. So
Didn't know their lines.
yeah. So I don't know. It just seemed fun, and you got to pretend to be someone else for a while, and pack away all your sadness and all your messed up real world, and pretend to be someone else for a while. And
So is that the main appeal? Trying to be somebody else? Or?
I think that's what started it as like a 5th, 7th, 8th grader. And I don't know, it was something I was actually kind of good at. If I was better at math, I probably wouldn't be an actor. I'd be a vet.
You
But
can act like a math teacher.
exactly,
Yeah.
I could play one on TV, but not in real life.
See, the only play I did was in kindergarten. There was a shrub or something.
Did you have any lines? Do you remember?
Hey, I think I ran off. Like,
So-
like this sucks. I'm out of here.
That's funny. Yeah.
That's my stage experience.
Yeah.
That's how you start, man.
I guess.
Yeah.
I started as
I was a
shrub.
zebra. I was a
Oh,
zebra.
so-
That was my first.
So at least you can move. I was supposed to stand still for the...
And you failed.
That's like pushed me back.
Oh.
Probably have pitchforks or something. I probably embarrassed my parents.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's my
It's
kid.
not ours. It's not ours.
He's adopted. Check the mailman.
Oh.
Yeah. Horrible. So how'd you get into it?
Well, I started really young. Probably like kindergarten. Doing like school stuff. I think like one of the first things I did was that I can remember at least pretty clearly was in first grade, a production of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was really mad because I wanted to be the White Rabbit, but the director's son got cast as the
Of
White
course.
Rabbit,
That's
and I was like,
Connection.
the
yeah,
nepotism,
I was
baby.
so mad. I remember being so mad about that. I think I was I was a card. Like that was what I wound up being. But and then from that, I actually one of like the first like I guess real productions I did. I was maybe 13 or so. Was like the first like out of school type thing that I did. And it was a production of Oliver at a community theater. And I only went to the audition because a friend of mine was auditioning for the show. And I didn't want to audition at all. Like I had like no interest. I think I was just scared of the whole process. So I didn't want to audition, but he kind of begged me to go with them to help, support him, I guess, or whatever he felt in his mind. So I went, and then I remember sitting like in the audience. It was a weird community theater audition where like everybody's in the audience and everybody watches everybody audition, and it's just like the worst thing in the world. And so I remember sitting in the audience, and the director, who wound up becoming, it was Kathy, wound up becoming a really close family friend of ours, was like, you're going to audition. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yes, you are. And she dragged me up on stage.
So she didn't know?
And no, we had no idea. And they were just looking for kids,
Boys.
for boys, particularly for Oliver. And they made me go up on stage, and I sang, Happy Birthday, and I read like a couple lines from the script. And then lo and behold, I got cast, and my friend didn't.
And you stopped being friends that day?
No, we were friends for
Never
a while.
spoke to
We were friends for a while after that. We stopped being friends for entirely different reasons, but and that was years later. But and then I got cast in Oliver as Charlie Bates, I had 2 lines, still remember them to this day.
Which are?
Green and yellow, and then a separate line was nose rags. Just reverse the order.
Nice.
Fagin would ask me, "Oh, what'd you get today, Charlie?" And I'd say nose rags, and he'd say, "What color?" And I'd say green and yellow.
There it
That
is.
That was it. And then from that on, it was just, I literally never stopped. It was just show after show after show after show, all the way through high school. I was doing so much like outside community theater and semi-professional children's theater and stuff like that, that I actually didn't do a whole lot of shows in high school with the school, because I was constantly working outside of school. And then that never stopped. And then I went to college for it, undergrad for it, got a degree for it, and then went to graduate school for it.
Oh, you could be a doctor.
Yeah, with the amount of time I spent in school.
8 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're doing your residency.
Yeah. You're making a lot more money. Paying back those
But
student
there's so
loans.
many people have the same story. That they went with their friend.
Yeah.
That's almost everyone I know.
Yeah,
It's like, or they like the girl who's in the shot.
Oh,
Right,
gotcha.
yeah.
Those 2
Yeah,
stories are
yeah.
so common. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But all the people who wanted to do it, like,
Failed.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
That's why they
funny.
get cast.
Yeah, it's funny though how like you just like you know it's so cliche to say like you know you're bitten by the bug or whatever, and then but that's like so true, and I don't know what it is about it. What I think every actor finds something, you know, sort of about the whole process and the craft of acting that, you know, whether it's this idea of being able to be whoever you want to be and, you know, create interesting characters or tell really interesting stories or, you know, whatever. So there's something about it that people latch onto and then they just don't stop doing it, you know.
Now, at what point you start studying? Because you got picked out of the audience. You probably had no idea what to do. Right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just say your lines. But
Yeah.
there's a difference.
Yeah, well, I think all actors, or there's some, they have some sort of like natural inclination to it, and I think we call it like instincts. They have really, you know, they have some sort of
That's
instincts
true with any-
towards.
Anything.
I think so.
Painting,
Yeah,
sculpting,
yeah.
Anything.
And yeah, with
Sports,
any arts, I think
sports.
you just have some sort of, you know,
Even
natural
carpentry.
ability.
I mean, you know, I can try to build a table. It's going to look horrible.
Right, that'd be lopsided.
Yeah, just-
That leg's a little too
Or it'll
long.
take me so much more work than somebody can just.
Who could
whiz
just
it
do
out.
it.
Yeah, and I think that's true of the arts and of acting. It's just certain people just have sort of a natural inclination to it, and then you sort of just I think through the process of doing it, you know, and having, you know, directors or other mentors through the doing of it that you know can help guide you along the way, and then eventually, you know, you go and you study for it, you know, and you learn technique and craft and you know, stuff like that.
Did that start around high school for you? Well, I guess both of them. Or once you got to college, it was more formal?
I think once you get to
Training?
college,
Yeah.
it becomes way more formal. Not that it can't be formal during high school, because there are classes and things that you can
Right,
you
or-
can take other places.
Not in
but-
Ohio.
No.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I
Ohio,
guess so,
there's
yeah.
nothing. We had like
Nothing.
one professional theater. Like I probably saw 2 plays professionally before I was in college, and then I
No
saw.
community. Well,
I never.
guess
I'm
community
sure
would
there
go
was
either way,
one,
right?
but I've never. It wasn't on the radar for me. So it's just not as saturated the market like it is in Jersey and New York.
Well, yeah, because
well,
we're so
they have
close to
more
New York.
people,
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
did community theater have any training, or just kind of
It's training
more
through
like a
doing,
hobby?
yeah,
Just
and more of a
going-
hobby. But you know, it's funny because there's such like an interest, like an eclectic mix of people in community theater. You have people who, you know, perhaps older people who had gone through and have degrees and have gotten training and stuff like that, but they just never, you know, went on to do it professionally, or they did for a certain amount of time, and
And
then
then they
just
had
life,
kids
you know,
and-
yeah, life circumstances change, and you know, then they sort of reshift their priorities, and they never really gave it up, but it became less of a career and more of a hobby. So you have those people influencing you, you know, as a kid and as a young adult before going on to formally training, you know, that they're sort of guiding you and influencing you along the way. And then you have, you know, the people who are, yeah, just solely there to do it because it is a hobby. They have, you know, passion for it, but decided to pursue, an accounting degree instead of,
Or just paying the bills.
the people who were
Yeah.
more sensible and decided to get, real jobs.
But just on Saturday, so a friend of mine who I didn't know they was acting at all. He did a play in a community theater after 30, God knows how many years, and he was actually studying with Stella Adler back then, all that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he said one time, one of the people in the class, the group, whatever he was saying, that would get a part. He was, I think, grape and Fruit of the Loom commercial.
I mean, it pays.
And they all went out to celebrate, and he got an offer to be in a soap opera. And back then,
Oh, yeah,
if
that's
you
it.
did soap opera, you were stuck. So it wasn't like today where you can go, a little more flexibility. And they were drinking, and he said he was so loaded, he started thinking about what can I possibly do. It's like, I don't want to do soap operas, and I don't want to be a guy who was a grape in a Fruit of the Loom.
Loom
And he just
commercial.
quit.
Wow.
He went into teaching or something. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, wow.
Marketing.
Oh my gosh.
And then he just did a play at a community theater after all these years.
Yeah.
He said, remember how much he loved doing it, but he knew, like, he just decided to bail.
Yeah.
It's a tough industry. It's really tough.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
not
it
for
is.
everyone.
It's not any. It's they always say if you're good at something else or you feel like you could do something else, because it's so.
There's no guarantees.
It's so difficult. Every element of it is difficult. So not that's not true of any other industry, but it's uniquely difficult in this industry.
So you both went to the same school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same college. Well, you were a grad student.
I was a graduate student.
I was an
yeah,
undergrad.
yeah.
Yeah.
And gee, I was robbing the
Robbing
cradle.
the cradle.
Yeah. All right. What did I say? You were robbing the grave.
Robbing the
grave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Ohio University. Yeah. So I did my
And what
graduate.
techniques are...
Yeah, we mainly studied Meisner.
Yeah.
We did some other. We did like Linklater, which is like a voice. You did some
Fitzmaurice
Fitzmaurice. We learned stage combat, improv.
Did some Michael Chekhov
Yeah,
work.
Chekhov.
And then,
Shakespeare. We learned Shakespeare.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think what are the other.
Suzuki did a little bit of
Little
Suzuki,
Suzuki.
but mainly Meisner
Mainly
is
Authentic
the.
movement. Yeah, but the
yeah.
main acting technique was
Was
Meisner.
Meisner.
Yeah. So
But everything branches off the method, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it all
The
branches
group theater,
also
right?
off of it all branches off of Stanislavski.
Stanislavski.
Yeah, that's where it sort of all comes from. And then when it came over to the States, it was brought over by Strasberg and Strasberg, I think. And then that's when the method was developed, and then the group theater, and then
Stella
Stella
Adler.
Adler went back over and then came back, and Stanislavski said to her, "No, you're doing it all wrong. You taught us the wrong way."
Yeah.
So then she came back and she was like, "We're doing this all wrong." And Strasberg was like, "The hell with you, we're not." And she's like, "Yes, we are." And then she's like, "I'm out of here. I'm going to do my own thing." And then Meisner was like, "You're all wrong. I'm going to go off and do my own thing."
Yep.
And then he went off. So then they all broke
There's a
out, and
split.
they all
Schism.
sort of started their own,
School.
style of American acting. But it all branches back to Stanislavski, and it's all. I mean, it's all a means to an end. It all supposed to arrive at the same place. It's just how you go about doing it.
Many
I was just
roads
gonna
to
say,
Mecca.
Yeah, the result, if it's good,
Yeah, doesn't
the
matter.
audience is not going to be able to
Yeah.
tell
They
how
don't
you
care.
got there, but you
Right.
know how you got there.
Right. Yeah, well, that's the whole point. Good acting should never look like acting, right? So it's
Just being
yeah,
present.
Yeah, and that's what they all try to get at. They just go at it
You're
differently.
not supposed to notice.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be work. It
yeah,
shouldn't be work.
Yeah, you shouldn't notice the work. Yeah.
So do you still stick with Meisner in your own...
That's all I
Day to
know.
day, that's
Yeah,
so you
all
stick
I know
with
is
that.
Meisner. Yeah.
So can you describe that for anyone who's not familiar with, if there's some young...
Oh God.
actors?
I'll let
Well,
you
I was
go.
gonna say,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Meisner is to live truthfully through imaginary circumstances.
Yeah, it's a textbook
So
definition.
yeah, so that's acting. I know they do a lot of daydreaming for like emotional life, which I do use a lot to get to a certain spot. I do use Michael Chekhov, which is like a form of like a movement. And I do use that to get my body, I don't know,
Yeah.
open and aligned and ready and to have a sense of ease. It's just listening and responding and then putting yourself in that character's shoes. but I feel like that's almost every acting technique.
I mean, the main core of the Meisner technique is a exercise called repetition, or structured improv, and basically.
Do you want to try it?
No.
I didn't prepare an activity today.
We just tortured students.
Oh my God, yes. I have
we
nightmares.
did in the film class. I made them repeat.
Oh,
God.
They were so uncomfortable. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
but
that's good.
But that's what it is. I mean, it's all about just like getting out of your own way, getting out of your head, and just really listening to not just what the other person is saying to you, but how they're saying it
and how it makes
you feel, and being able to respond to that from your own sense of truth without any judgment or
manipulation
or any inhibitions or anything like that. So that's sort of where and then the actual exercise, it spans, literally you do it for about like 2.5 years of just repetition. But then it grows and it builds, and you start adding other elements that you would see if you were looking at like a play, objectives, previous circumstances, shared circumstances,
relationships,
given circumstances. So all of the analytical techniques that you would break down a script with starts getting filtered into the exercise.
That's the word.
But the difference is that it's all improvised. So you as the student or as the actor, you're coming up with all of these things. You're coming up with the shared circumstances. Mm-hmm. You're coming up with the given circumstances, the objectives, the emotional preps, all of those things, and you're creating this basically scene that you then go in and totally improvise using the repetition as sort of like a baseline. And it's infuriating, it's terrifying, it's exciting, and all of that all at once. It's awful. Mm-hmm. But it brings you to this place that you wouldn't get to if you just approached the work from like a textbook perspective. Mm-hmm. You know, if you just looked at this at a scene, because it removes all the other junk and you're just alive and present and in the moment. And that's what the Meisner work is all about, is about that moment-to-moment work, the connection between two actors, and being able to, like a tennis match, bounce the moments back and forth between somebody else. Wow, that was a lot.
But it's right. It's listening.
Yeah, listen and respond.
Listening and responding.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
One time there was a project and one of the actors I didn't know. I was like, wow, it's really good. Mm-hmm. Turns out she never took a class in her life. Huh. So I was like, well, it's kind of unusual. Either you have this ridiculous talent that you didn't know. It was like a first time she ever did it. She had a background in family therapy.
Oh
wow.
And I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. She knows how she's feeling and she knows how to communicate.
It was so natural because that's what she was doing all day long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you're ever trying to get somebody who's not an actor, make sure they have
that's why they have a background in therapy. Yeah.
It's so
they'll
true,
respond without any, that's natural.
Yeah. It's true. You know, it's funny because they would say to us in school all the time is that, like, as an actor, you have to revert to like your 6-year-old self, you know, because when you were that young, you had no inhibitions. You know, if you were mad and you let everybody know it. You know, if you were upset about something, you were upset and that was it, and it didn't matter, and you didn't care what anybody else thought. You know, so that's always, and you listened everything like. Well, most of us
little kids don't listen.
You know? I mean, but we listened.
Yeah.
You know, to what we wanted to hear. But like everything was like a pinprick. You know, could set somebody off.
Yep.
Being that sort of available and present.
You don't have to answer this.
But
since you're a couple.
Oh no.
Does that ever get in the way of the arguments?
No, I think it's honestly better because it teaches you how to communicate. Like, so if there's something that's bothering me, I tell them right up front, like, this is bothering me and this is why. And I don't know, I feel like our feelings get hurt more because we listen to the tone of the way you say things.
Yeah. Well, and then we respond sometimes with the first thing that comes to mind instead of stopping and thinking about it.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you realize, oh crap, that's right. We're not. I need to temper this a little bit because, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But
does it morph into a Meisner exercise?
It can.
Not too bad. We get along pretty well.
Yeah, sometimes it does. It's like, oh, fuck you. No, fuck you.
I've never said that.
Sometimes. But I think that we're pretty good about it.
I think so. Yeah, I think it.
We don't fight generally. And when we do, it's usually like, it's
hungry.
very rare. Yeah, she's hungry. I just gotta, exactly.
Just
I need to get her a hamburger and then she's fine.
You burned my toast.
Yeah, and then
so.
it's funny. I had a feeling you were going to ask this question too, but I think the fact that we're both actors actually helps because we both understand the time commitment when you work on a production and the lifestyle. Yeah, so we both totally understand when somebody's in rehearsal all day and or somebody's coming up into tech week or in performances and how the lifestyle sort of how life consuming the lifestyle can become. And I don't think we get jealous. I know a lot of couples, they'll get jealous. She might get a little bit. They get jealous of each other when they're working. Because of the parts or how many parts you're getting? Because of
how he does an audition and just gets handed roles and then I have to work really hard.
Here it comes.
I'm pretty sure that might be it.
We noticed the tone of voice.
Yeah, that's right. If you were listening.
Usually how it is.
There was a really strong point of view on that comment there.
Mm-hmm. But
I think that's indicative of the industry, though.
No, yeah.
I think
boys
men have
girls.
a much easier time in the industry than
more roles, less competition.
Yeah, more roles, less competition.
I don't know if Harvey Weinstein felt the same way.
He got the pick of the. He got his pick.
Yeah.
That's the only way they got cast, though. Is because that's the only way those white girls could get work. Yeah.
I think he capitalized on the fact that was,
well, the whole industry. Yeah. Well, film. Well, I guess theater is not as bad, but
yeah, still can be bad.
Yeah.
I feel like it's. I don't know.
I feel like things are changing. So they're long overdue, and they're changing slowly. But
I think there's just more women writing. And more women now, producing, so they're doing their own work. So they're writing more parts.
You can't hide anymore.
Yeah,
everything's out.
Right.
Well, people have been talking about Weinstein for years. They made jokes on 30 Rock. They made jokes on 30 Rock in 2008, and I'm like, I don't get this.
I knew when I was a production assistant.
That's insane. Same thing with
give me a break.
What's the other guy? The guy on House of Cards.
Oh, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, he was the same. He was the same. They'd go up to the interns and be like, "Don't go in his dressing room."
I mean, they were new. For people to get up and say we never heard of it, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
I was making coffee.
Yeah,
and I knew.
You knew, right?
And you can't tell me that you didn't know.
Yeah,
it's
get out of here. It's just, but it's sick.
Yeah.
So do you? Get off track. Do you prefer more improvisation, or do you like the text?
I like the text. I hate improv.
I love improv.
I hate it. Oh, I can't do it. I mean, I can do it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I mean, we spent, the Meisner training was all improvisation. So it's like, you spent 2.5 years doing it, and it becomes a little less of a daunting task. But I don't think I'm very funny. So I don't like
being put on the spot.
Comedic improvisation. Mm-hmm. I could improvise a scene, if you were to give me circumstances and stuff like that, and it's fine, I can do that, but I don't like improvisational games.
Well, comedy is it's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah, oh my God, that type of improv. I just I don't like being put on the spot or being expected to be funny, because I don't think I am very funny.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I do improv. I'm in an improv troupe, and we do improv shows about 5 or 6 times a year. But it's fun. But I mean, it's a completely different beast.
Yeah.
But sometimes just because you're a good actor doesn't mean you're a good improver, and just because you're a good improver does not mean you're a good actor. which that's usually an issue because they don't want to say the lines that are written in the script because they think they're funnier than the lines.
Right.
So that's always an issue.
The screenwriter or the playwright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was improv, at least in the group that you're in, does that lead more comedic improv, or is
that's more
comedy?
comedic. Yeah, it's more like who's
Like
on is it
sketch
anyway?
comedy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like short form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be, obviously.
No, yeah. In the acting training, it's not usually funny at all. It's usually very yelly and angry, but
Yeah.
It
Yelly,
gets bad.
angry, and lots of crying and stuff
Yep.
like that. But like I like the last film that we worked on with Amy,
Mhm.
Hunter's Weekend. I mean, there was a good amount of improv in that.
she would just let us go.
She would just let us go. So like, she's very funny. She's already very funny.
Yeah.
Her writing style is very funny. So you don't need to improvise the script. But what she would do is she wouldn't call cut on us. We'd go through whatever we're doing, and then she'd just keep letting the camera roll, which would then force us to have to do something, So because she just wanted to see what we would come up with, and a lot of that stuff actually landed in the film. A lot of the
she's great.
But in that sense, I'm totally comfortable with improvising.
Yeah, having a basis and then to jump off.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
So you like to set up, and then you can go with it.
Yeah.
Because I saw that movie like a year ago. What they put it on?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's what
Amazon
I saw.
Prime,
So
yeah,
whatever, when you told me that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
it's a
killed
silly
like
movie.
all of them. I don't know what.
I did. I killed them all.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sort of like The Office slash.
Murder.
Murder.
Yeah. It's just totally silly.
Yeah, it was like Tucker and Dale versus Evil meets The Office, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Silly.
The best part was when we were filming in the we were filming in a was it a state park? It was a state park.
Not or national. Yeah, state
Well, it
park.
certainly looked like a state,
Yeah,
a national park.
in Virginia.
Uh-huh.
And
Like 2-3 days after that guy went to the baseball game and shot up all those Republicans. Yeah, he was like, "You guys Republicans or Democrats?" They're like, "Republicans," and he just opened. None of them died, but it was literally
he
like
shot the Congress.
Yeah.
it was at a baseball game. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was literally 4 days after that.
Yeah. So
we're walking around with.
Yeah. So we were on this state park, walking around with weapons. I mean, they weren't real; they're prop weapons.
Did you have permits or no?
We did. We got them that day.
Yeah, we had permits to film on there, but we were like really concerned about the guns. Because they were airsoft guns.
But they don't look it.
They look the
They
same.
look
real.
They look real.
Especially from far away, so we call cops.
Yeah.
So we were like hiding them. We had gun bags for them, and whenever we weren't using them, we were like hiding them and covering them, and like looking around to make sure when we were taking them out and shooting something really quick. And one of the I guess one of the groundsmen or whatever came over at one point and was asking us what we were doing, and we're like, oh, and we showed him the permits.
They're fake.
And then he was like, oh, and he was watching, and they're like, yeah, no, the guns are fake, and he's like, that doesn't matter, it's open carry in Virginia.
And we're like, oh yeah, but you have to buy fireworks, you have to show a driver's license.
Yeah. But the best thing was the walking around this state park in the ranger uniform that I had. People would stop and ask me questions.
The bathroom's overflowing.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that the bathrooms, the faucet in the bathroom is running. Be like, oh yeah, I'll tell somebody. I'll tell somebody.
I'll be right there.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah, asking me questions about where things were. I was like, this is.
Yep.
We see the cameras. This isn't real.
But did they notice the camera?
No.
The best is we were filming. We had it all set up, and this 10 8-year-old boys come up to practice tuba. They're like band kids.
They're like a brass band, yeah.
And they were practicing, and then they went up like, "Oh, guys, you're not allowed to be here."
We kicked them out in the
uniforms. They thought that they're sorry about that, and they left. They thought that they were actual.
Yeah, they thought that we were rangers
because they were ruining the shot.
No tubas in the state park.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we'll go to the parking lot. And they all left.
Yeah. Well, that would ruin the whole day of shooting.
I know.
Oh my god, yeah.
I just see these kids walking over with their flutes. You're like, oh no.
Unless you just let them march around all day long.
And just follow you the whole time.
That's what we should have. That would have been hysterical.
Cute.
Just coordinate it with them.
God, it was so funny.
Get their parents to send releases or whatever.
Oh my god.
That was it last summer or summer before?
Oh my god, I think it
was
was
two
2.
summers
That was
ago.
been
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Because Nick was working with me.
That's right, yeah. Nick was the
That was-
MVP of the shoot.
He played a lot. He did a lot.
He did a lot.
We killed him too. We killed him twice.
He got killed twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Poor
Did
kid.
a lot of stuff.
He was great.
Yeah, that was shot in like a week. Real quick.
I think 7.
Yeah,
It was like 7
6
days.
It was 6 days.
Something
I
like
think,
that. Yeah. We wrapped on time and under budget.
Yeah, we could have used a few more days.
That's true. Yeah.
But well, you know what happened was that we were supposed to get a really bad storm.
So we were trying to.
So I think we had 8
rain
days
delay.
or something like that built into. We were gonna go though, but the last couple days we were supposed to have a really bad storm. So we hustled, through everything, and then we wound up not having.
It never rained,
storm.
yeah, and so we just wrapped on time.
Yeah, so we wrapped early actually. Wrapped
under
early,
budget.
and yeah. So and Amy seemed really happy with everything. So all right, cool.
Yeah.
What was the budget?
So like
I have no idea.
I want to say 9,000, but I don't know. Yeah, she had a backer. Like some guy just gave her money. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, she kickstarted the whole thing,
Did she?
and then
Is that one Kickstarter?
Yeah, yeah, that was kickstarted. But she wound up getting some like angel donor or something like that really sort of put her up where she needed to be. I believe. I'm pretty sure it was kickstarted.
I think she kickstarted Jess Archer.
Yeah, I think she kickstarted that too.
But I think Hunter's Weekend was produced. I think a guy produced it. But
I'm
maybe
gonna have
I'm
to
wrong.
Google this.
I don't know. Maybe you're right.
I will Google this right
I
now.
can't remember.
Pretty sure it was kickstarted.
So is this, you've done other film work, right?
Uh-huh.
But you mostly do theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As much as a steady gig as possible in the theater.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, it's even the state of theater has changed so much. It used to be like most people would get their start in theater, and then from there go on to do film or television or have be making the bigger bucks in that world. But now it's sort of reversed. A lot of Broadway shows and things like that, big musical stuff where producers are dumping millions and millions of dollars into the production. They need big names to sell the tickets.
Jana Radcliffe was doing an off-Broadway show, not even on Broadway. It was off-Broadway. So people are like, "Oh, do you do Broadway?" I'm like, no one
does.
Chris Evans is doing Broadway.
Like he's doing off-Broadway too.
Off-Broadway,
unless you're like a celebrity now, it's incredibly hard.
It's impossible.
Or you're like in a chorus somewhere. Your ensemble in some big musical, or whatever. I can't sing or dance. So.
Yeah, or you can play an instrument.
Or you can play an instrument.
Yeah, you have to be a quadruple threat now.
Well, everything shifted.
Yeah.
TV was like, you don't want to do TV. If
now
it's like people want to do TV.
HBO.
Yeah.
The better stuff is on television.
That's right.
Movies are just Marvel.
You have more
DC
time.
Comics.
Yeah, you have more time to do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have budgets now,
They
have huge budgets. But it's a quick turnover, too. You got to memorize those lines.
Yeah, fast. So, when you did theater, what is your rehearsal schedule? Usually 3 weeks? No.
Not here.
Not here. Well,
Not here.
Yeah, but mostly, it's usually 3
that's
weeks.
the standard one.
Yeah, but sometimes it's 2.
Well, it could be. It depends on the level of contract. So for smaller professional theaters, like the one here, like Centenary Stage Company, it's like a 2.5 week rehearsal process because the level of the contract stipulates a certain amount of hours that are allowed to be worked through the duration of so the total contract is a 5 week contract from rehearsal to
performances.
Yeah, the end of the performances. Some places they'll do 6 week contracts, so 3 weeks of rehearsal, 3 weeks of performances.
Broadway, you are in previews
Broadway,
for a month.
Your contracts are much larger and bigger.
Yeah.
So you're rehearsing for. You could be rehearsing for a month and then in previews for a month and then you're finally open, and then running for however long, it sells basically. Yeah. And then they replace cast members and stuff like that as it goes on. Mm-hmm. But so really it sort of just depends on
money.
Yeah. Like everything else. Yeah. Shocking. Yeah.
It's even worse than film.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what kind of roles do you, obviously you audition. Well, not you.
Yeah.
Not so much.
I haven't been so much.
But what makes you go for something? Like which roles are attractive to you personally versus stuff that you go like, I'm not even going to bother with this?
I mean, I've said that about roles that I'm like, oh, I'd never play that role. But then you're offered it, and then you play it.
Yeah, like that's one thing, right?
Like the one
like
now.
the one I was like, oh, I'd never play that part. I'm not like a buxom blonde. You wig me, and then you give me a push-up bra, and you can pretend from a distance. But
you were in Hitler's Tasters as a blonde.
I know that was
a good show.
That was fun. That was a fun one. But yeah, honestly, it's like I try to find funny, smart girls, which is not a lot, especially in independent film.
Well, from a description, it's tough to gauge.
Yeah.
What something is.
Yeah, and a lot of times, especially if it's film, like indie film, I'll ask to read the script before I even audition, because I'm not going to waste my time on garbage, because there's a lot of garbage. Bad scripts, just bad writing. And that's one thing that's good about plays. It's usually they're already produced or they're in the process of being produced, so they've been vetted. Yeah. Versus indie films, you get a guy with a camera, you get a creepy dude with a camera, and you're doing some lesbian vampire thing. And suddenly there's topless girls, and it's like, that wasn't in the script. Yeah. Because it's some creepy dude with a camera.
Not
so
that
that's
she's talking from experience.
No, it's happened. I auditioned for a role, and because she was a friend, she didn't have any, nudity or any gratuitous, like, weird scenes. And he's like, well, I don't want you to play that part. I want you to play the lead girl. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't want to play that. He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm not doing that. And he got mad, and because I wouldn't do it. I was like,
that was Ed Wood.
I wish. Yeah. No, some creepy dude with a camera.
Creepy version of Ed Wood.
Yeah. I wish. God. But, yeah. What about you?
Huh?
What roles do you usually get offered roles, I feel like?
I don't know. I mean, it really... So many times it just boils down to whether or not you're the right type for a role. As much as I would love to play the Macbeths and I said that, like, am I in a theater? No, I'm not. No. The Macbeths and, like, the Iagos and, like, the bad guys of the world. I don't get typed as that often, although I can fucking do it. I don't get typed of it. I don't get typed as it. So, if I were to walk into an audition room for Macbeth, they're not even gonna, they're gonna look, short. He's too short, he's too this, he's too, whatever.
Too blonde, dark,
whatever. Sure. He's more of a Malcolm than than a Macbeth. So really, that 90% of the time, that's what, when I see casting breakdowns, I just look and be like, okay, is there anything in here that sort of fits my type, which is usually like waspy. Boy next door, waspy, I can play the
business guy,
the young business guy, or the
young lawyer.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Is that because of casting directors? Well, I guess that's the first step most of the time. It's the casting directors.
Yeah.
So usually you don't have a chance to spend time with the director.
Right.
Yeah.
Which could make a difference.
Yeah, and it just depends. I mean, because they get so many submissions. When you're talking about film, they get so many submissions from so many places that they immediately, the first thing they do is when they get the submission is they look at your, at least my understanding is that they look at your headshot, exactly. And then it's just like, yep, nope, doesn't look it.
Which pile does it go into?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So usually you get typed out right away. And even for theater, I mean, it's the second you walk in the room, you get typed out.
Yeah.
If I were to walk in for Dracula, old. I'm immediately typed out. Right.
Too short.
And they're like, oh, nope. He's not dark enough, too short, that's it.
So what's the
I'm
worst?
a Jonathan Harker's.
Yeah, you're a Harker.
Which is what I do, who I played, but wow. That's it. That's,
What's the worst thing about auditions?
The whole thing.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, besides the whole thing, which part
every
of the
moment of it.
Miserable mess, just human sadness.
It's just, there's nothing about the audition process that is fun. No matter how many times people may say it is, or try to convince you that, like, when they go and they just look at it and they have a good, look at it as being fun. They're lying. It's not fun. And I don't think at any point does it ever really get fun. It's just, you put on the spot for a really short amount of time that doesn't really showcase anything other than what you look like, what you sound like, and like, you know, that you can read if you're reading, you know, a side or something like that's, or are you able to make big choices, or, you know, I don't know.
I think the most frustrating is most of the shows and stuff are already cast. Like you go into the audition and they're like, oh yeah, it's already cast. Like they had auditions for Turning and they used all the girls who did the reading already. Like you go into the Broadway, like I auditioned for Dracula on Broadway and it was all already cast. It was some intern watching all the auditions and you don't know that till you get there. And they're like, it's just some intern who they have to do it because equity made them hold auditions because they have to hold auditions. And so they just sit there for 9 hours and you get all the way in there, you give out a headshot, and then you say your 2 minutes monologue, and then that's it. You never hear back because it's already cast.
That's what happened to me. I auditioned for Orphans on Broadway, and I submitted, and I got called in, and I even got a call back for it. But
Shia LaBeouf was already cast in it.
So I don't know if
and then he got fired.
And then he wanted to get fired.
Was it Baldwin? It
was Alec Baldwin.
And then the other guy. Foster.
Ben Foster,
that replaced him. Not the understudy. The understudy Shia LaBeouf for 8 weeks. They fired him and put another name.
Yeah.
So much money is right now.
But you already had Alec Baldwin. Who's buying tickets to see Shia LaBeouf?
Well, nobody. Didn't last very long.
That was a week.
Yeah. That didn't last long.
It's just crazy.
But that can be a frustrating thing. Is that, you know, the union is great in terms of offering, you know, certain protections and guarantees and things like that, but there's also certain requirements that then theaters are, you know, have to follow, and one of them is holding, you know, equity required auditions, which is great because it gets you in the room, I guess, with people that you might not have gotten in the room with before.
But they're not looking for you.
They're not really looking for anybody.
Right, if it's already
got a cast,
they might be looking for one very specific part. Like we were looking for a Dracula really hard and searching for a Dracula because it's a hard part to find. Yeah. And they might be looking for one part, but it's probably
It takes a long time to fly in from Transylvania.
It does.
Yeah,
in that
I've
form,
heard. Yeah.
You gotta watch out for the water. That's a thing.
I remember that show. He was tired.
Oh my gosh! All those dirt boxes he's got to cart around. Yeah, poor guy.
But the intern that's sitting there watching you. I mean, your
he's 21.
Not going anywhere.
He's a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah. But it's sort of the game you have to play. Mm-hmm. But then the other, other open calls and things like that where you go for like seasons for like, regional theater stuff, like for like summer stock that's regional or whatever. You kind of go in and you do your 1.5 minute monologue and then you leave, and more often than not it's the sort of not knowing afterwards, like that's really the hardest thing. Like even just like a no thanks, but no thanks, is awesome, because then you stop thinking about it, right?
Yeah, you got to give yourself 3 days, and after the 3 days, you got to put it to bed.
More often than not, you don't hear anything back, unless you're booking it or you're getting called in for a callback. So that's usually, and I think it's the dread of knowing that you're going to sit there and wait until you see
hope. So much hope.
Until you see on their website,
the casting announcement.
Well, clearly they didn't go with me.
Exactly. When you get tickets, invites to the show, it's like, I guess it's not me.
Yeah, I guess it's not me. But, and then, and every room is different. Some casting people, are really great. Like they'll engage you when you get in, and they're very generous. They'll sit there and actually look at you and watch you while you're doing your monologue or you're doing whatever. They'll talk to you, ask you questions, and those always feel good, because you feel like you're being treated like a human being. Some you walk in and they just say hi, and then they never pick their eyes up off your resume, and they just sit there. And it's
just doodle in their
and then you finish,
type on their computer.
Sometimes they don't even say anything to you, and you're just like, all right, thanks, and you walk out. But it's so that I think that too is also sort of what makes me dread going to auditions, because I never know what to expect unless I know the people that I'm going in for. If I know them, then I don't really dread the audition at all.
That's a different experience.
Yeah.
If you don't know them and this happens, it's hard, I guess, because I have never done it. How hard is it not to take it personally?
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredibly hard. Yeah.
That's why you got to separate yourself from the business.
Yeah. It's almost impossible not to take it.
And that's why a lot of people quit, is because they can't take the rejection.
Well, I can imagine.
They feel like it's...
One after another.
Yeah, you feel like you're bad, and it's just not the
but,
right timing.
It's funny because having, working here and being on the other end of the other side of the table, helping to cast and watching auditions and stuff, you learn very quickly that there are just so many variables that go into casting that are like totally out of an actor's control.
Yeah.
Like has nothing to do with their level of talent. It has nothing to do with their look. It literally just comes down to logistics and, do we have, how many contracts do we have to use? How many professional actors can we hire? Which roles require, an equity contract versus which roles don't we need? Could we find a non-union person who might be able to fill that role, better? Or just as well, and then we don't have to worry about using a contract there because we only have 4 to use throughout the this 8-person production. So there's just all sorts of crazy. Are they local? Do they have a car? Are they able to, particularly for us out here, are they able to commute out here? Do they live in New York City? Are they going to need housing? Like all these different things that really have absolutely nothing to do with the actor, and it's those things that usually guide or dictate decisions as opposed to somebody's. Of course, somebody's ability is factored, but usually those things are what preclude people even more so than coming
talent.
in and bombing or talent.